Welcome to the home of precision golf in Surrey, and I'm here today to introduce to you the importance of getting the clubs to fit properly for you. Even if I do my job well, and I think I can teach any golfer to swing properly, if you don't have the right kit in your hands, you won't get the maximum performance. So let's go inside and see what the boys do. Simon, James, hi.
Hi Dennis, hi.
Tell me about what you do here.
Simon and I set up Precision Golf to offer golfers of every ability and age a tour level service. Our biggest selling point is the fact that we're totally separate from any manufacturer, and we have access to every steel and graphite shaft available within the industry. So we can provide customers with truly bespoke products while still using all the leading brands.
So Simon, you're here to meet and greet the customer when he arrives, probably a little bit nervous. Tell us about the process.
As you say, the more comfortable the golfer is when they come here, the better the results we're going to get at the end of it. So the initial process is to make sure that they're happy at the atmosphere here. But the start of things is to run through the client's equipment to get a good idea of what they're playing with already, and then understand about their initial playing experiences with those clubs in the past. So the more we can get from this part of the bag, the more we can get out of it at the end, so there's a better product at the end of it.
So it's all about the individual golfer, and we've got one here, John. So let's get John to come and join us. So John, tell us about your golf.
Dennis, I've been playing golf for 20 years, playing at 14, playing most weekends.
You're a keen practicer?
I am, yes.
And you've had some coaching?
I do both fairly regularly, yes.
Yeah, and there's a point there where you probably felt, well, what's the next step up? So when you come to precision golf, what was the reason behind your thinking?
Well, I was looking for, I am hitting the ball fairly well, and really to go on the next stage in my golf progression, I suppose, was the opportunity with the bespoke set of clubs to improve my equipment.
So you needed confidence in your kit as well as confidence in your swing?
Most certainly.
Right, well, you seem pretty happy with the process, so let's see how they went about doing that for you. Well, these are John's old clubs, and we heard from John, he was a pretty keen golfer. He'd done some practice, he's had some coaching, but when's the right time for a golfer to come to see you?
Well, you can do it one of two ways. You can either have the coaching first and then come to get the equipment sorted so you can get the most out of your swing, or you can get your equipment sorted out first so you've got the confidence in how it's set up, and then go and have coaching to then get the most out of your swing. And the synergy of the two can work either way around. So
Simon, what's the first step?
Well, the first step is to measure the length of the clubs throughout the bag. We're looking to make sure that there are consistent gaps between each one, and we have seen, for example, the 5 and the 6 are the same length before.
Just how important is flex?
Flex is crucial to the overall performance of the club for an individual. We measure flex using this piece of equipment here. What it does is it measures the oscillation speed of the shaft, and that comes up as a figure here. We plot this against the length of the club, which gives you its flex, its playing flex. We're looking for them to be frequency matched, which would follow a line on this graph. And where there are variances, we can pull out a particular club which may perform differently for an individual.
Explain to everyone about swing weight.
Well, swing weight's the overall balance of the club as it's put together. So, measured using the scales here, it measures where the prominence of the weight is in the club. So, the heavier the swing weight, the more the weighting is towards the club head end. And what it is, it's the feel of the club in motion. So the heavier the swing weight, the more the weighting is towards the club head, the heavier the feel. So you can take a club which is the same dead weight. If I hold it this way around, a lot of the weight's at the bottom end and it feels heavy. If I turn it round, a lot of the weight's at the top and it feels very light. So it's that sensation swinging the club for the golfer.
So what conclusion did you come to with John's clubs?
With John's old set, what we can see from this graph is that they're pretty consistent flex throughout, although they are very soft, and this is just an index of flex. So for someone like John, who's a big, powerful chap, we'd be looking for them to be a little stiffer to give him the control over the shot pattern. So we'd expect to see, whilst they're put together very well, we'd expect to see shot variances based on the amount of reaction he's getting from the shaft. And there is one other variable in the overall process, which is how a shaft is made, how components are put together. Anything which is mass manufactured has a tolerance level. And in the club heads, it's a mass and the angles that they come out. In shafts, it's how uniform they're put together. So as a demonstration, we can take a shaft, top quality shaft. We use a standard mass for this process because a club head has a center of gravity away from the club and can create an oscillation. Using this mass, if I were to pull it back square, you'd expect to see the shaft perform uniformly. However, because of structural inconsistencies, it doesn't. There is a solution to this, but we'll come on to that later on.
Well, like all golf professionals, I know what this is. This is a loft and lie machine, and it's a very important part of the club fitting process. If you don't get your lies and lofts right on a club, you've got problems. You're going to have some bad golf shots. What do you see?
Well, the main problem with loft is if it's inconsistent between each club, and that affects the distance each club goes relative to one another. With lie, what can happen is, if the lie's correct, the centre of the club is striking the ground. If not, it'll be the toe or the heel, and that causes it to twist through impact, which gives you variation in direction.
Now, I know golf professionals, they're very particular on this, and when you do your bespoke service, before the clubs leave your offices here, what do you do?
Well, the loft and lie check is the final piece of the puzzle. Rather than doing just the one club and adjusting everything off that, we make sure we check every single club through the bag to make sure they're all perfectly set up.
So that really is a personalised service. Well, that's familiar ground for me, a golfer swinging a golf club. But it's an exciting stage in the club fitting process because now we can see some dynamic testing and dynamic analysis. Simon, how do you go about it?
Well, this is where the relationship between the golfer and the equipment comes in. So what we've got is we've got 8 shots from John just now with his old clubs. And this is where you can relate in what the golfer sees on the golf course to exactly what's happening with the clubs.
How do these figures help John?
Well, they help John from the fact that we can see that with the club speed and the launch angle he's getting are very, very consistent, so his input's very consistent. What it does show us, though, is that the output, the distance he's hitting, varies dramatically.
Well, at 184 and 165, clubbing's not impossible, but pretty difficult, huh?
It's very difficult, and it's a product of the flex of his original clubs. Because they're so soft, he's getting inconsistency in the reaction from those, which is bearing itself out in the distances.
So he really needs new shafts.
Exactly.
Well, when I first saw what Precision Golf had here, I was a little bit sceptical, like you might be, because we've all seen club fitting stuff before, but this is exceptional. When you look at the computer now, it's going to go through a process that's far too complicated for me to really understand, but the bottom line, Simon, you understand it. Tell us about it.
Well, John's just been hitting with the pre-calibrated control club, and this is used in conjunction with a company called Hot Sticks Technologies. Now, we're using the TourFit system, which gives us up-to-date information on every single shaft out there. And with John's data that he's just hit with, it gets uploaded into their tested numbers. And what they've done is taken every club head, shaft, flex, and swing speed combination, and with that input of data, it gives us a base point to work from.
So it's not just a case of computer says, you have to use your skills and experience in this process too.
The fitting is only good as the fitter. And no matter how much information you have, you still have to interpret that data correctly for the individual. So depending on what we're trying to achieve out of the club for the client, it needs to be adapted differently for every person.
So once you've selected shafts, you've then got to go on to the next process, which is make a golf club.
Exactly. And from there, it's then taking what we've generated here and giving it to James in the workshop for him to put his skills to use and put it all together perfectly.
Well, James, we're in the workshop now. We're going to put the clubs together, and I've got the original specs for John's clubs. Now, to me, it looks, well, very complicated, actually. How do you go about this?
Well, what you have there is the formula for John's perfect set of golf clubs, and it's my responsibility to ensure that those clubs are built exactly to that specification.
Well, it's not just about shafts, is it? There's so much more in putting a club together. So what do you do?
Well, there are a lot of things involved when assembling a set of clubs. One of the things I have to ensure is that the internal weighting is matched throughout the set, which will give the set a consistent feel. I even go to the lengths of weighing each grip to ensure that it doesn't upset the balance of the whole set.
So the club's going to feel exactly right to the golfer?
Absolutely.
Perfect. You couldn't get more bespoke than that. That's truly personalised. Well, I saw this problem earlier. The shaft's out of balance and it's wobbling around everywhere. What's the solution?
Well, we have a licensed shaft puring technology that allows us to identify precisely the shaft's most stable orientation.
Well, it looks like the computer's been hard at work.
Here's a shaft we've already analysed. And if I rotate this shaft to its optimum performing position, the results can be quite dramatic.
Well, that one's ready to go. We're almost there now, putting the shaft in, the assembly process, and this looks like where you earn the name Precision Golf. It's very precise, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. All these shafts have been pured, and I'm just making sure that all the shafts are installed in their correct orientation.
Well, well done. It's a great job, and it is a great job. I've been lucky. I've travelled the world, and outside of America, I've never seen anything to compare with this. And I would add one last thing. The guy who engraves the name on the Open Championship trophy, he's the only chap that I've seen pay as much attention to detail as James does. Well, John, the number crunching all seems to map out, but what does it feel like to you on a golf course?
A whole lot better, Dennis. As the results are showing, I can actually now club the ball correctly, and I feel a lot more confident with every club in the bag.
Now, I'm bound to say this, there's lots of sophisticated machinery here and all the technology. Is it good value for money?
Well, we certainly all spend a lot of time, looking through magazines and in the pro shop and on the course. So for me, certainly having a set of clubs that suits my swing, I think, yes, it's very good value for money.
So as a club golfer, we've got John there, happy as can be. Now I'm going to move over to the Wisley and spend some time with some professionals who actually play for money. And so we've left the offices of Precision Golf and joined me down in my office at the Wisley. And on the range today, two very good golfers. James Heath, a new professional, qualified from the Challenge Tour, and his first season on the European Tour coming up. Exciting times for him. And also Tony Johnson, former winner of the PGA Championship at Wentworth, and now plying his trade on the European Seniors Tour. Many Euros coming his way. Let's see how Precision Golf have helped them with their games. James, an exciting first year coming up on the European Tour. I mean, there's a dream of many young golfers to get there. You've got there. What does it mean to you?
A lot. It's something I've worked for pretty much since my golfing life started to get my European title card and go further from here. But this is certainly a stepping stone, which I'm very happy to have achieved.
And being happy with the equipment isn't just about getting the pure shafts in your bag, but also that machine there and all the equipment where they look at the ball speeds and getting the right shaft.
Sure, yeah, and there's loads to it. I mean, start from the bottom, loft and lies, shafts, grip sizes, swing weights. Like you say, they've got a machine in there which measures the ball spin and your swing speed, so they can match up your driver to your golf ball. And mind-blowing stuff, but I know for sure that it gets my equipment right.
And it all comes down to power in the end. That's when you're out on the golf course with the pros, you're going to be known for your power. You're a slip of a thing. How do you hit it so far?
I don't know, actually, a lot of practice, I suppose, but equipment is obviously is so key out there for us golfers. Getting an extra 10 or 15 yards is the difference between a club, and the difference between a club is an extra shot. So making sure I've got the right driver for me, which is going to get my maximum length, is very important. And I know that when I go down to Precision Golf, they do the best job to do that.
Great, James, thanks, and good luck this year.
Thank you very much, Dennis. Thank you.
Tony, since you started professional golf, there's been huge changes in equipment. What are your feelings and thoughts on that?
There have been massive changes. I mean, we started out with persimmon woods, Bellata balls, and technology has just taken the game to a different level altogether. Massive changes, and I think you've got to do your best to keep up with the technology, because if you don't, you're just going rapidly backwards in comparison to the rest of the field.
Over the years, you've been recognised as one of the best short game players in the world, particularly out of bunkers. How do they work on your wedges at Precision Golf?
We've done a bit of work, bit of grinding. James loves getting on the grinder. He loves tinkering with clubs. I think he's got a passion for it, a distinct passion for it. And yeah, we've done quite a bit of work. We've ground metal woods. We've done all sorts of things to try and optimise my equipment, and I think we've just about got there.
So it sounds like you've got a lot of trust now in your equipment and no more tinkering.
That's the goal. If you can trust your equipment, you've got half the battle won. The rest is swing mechanics, but at least you can forget about the golf clubs, and that's what James and Simon have really helped me to do.
Well, thanks, Tony. That's super, and good luck.
Thank you.
You've seen the workshop for Precision Golf, and we've seen what the boys had to say on the range, but where it really matters is the first tee. Over to you, James. I'm convinced that Precision Golf can help your game. Why don't you contact them right now?